Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show from ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, one of their top reporters in the National Football League and a longtime colleague of mine from NFL Network back in the day, Jeff Darlington. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing well, Rich. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thanks for calling in. I really greatly appreciate it. Let's just jump right into it as we are 8 days from the new league year officially opening. You said about a week ago you'd be shocked if Brady returned to New England. Yeah. Your take on that subject now would be what? Changed? Same?
Same. Yeah, same. I continue to sort of maintain what I had said there in terms of, yes, I would be very surprised if Tom goes back to New England based on a number of conversations that I've had. And one of the things that I had mentioned in that segment on Get Up when I had said that I would, in fact, be stunned, which was not much different than what I had said previously in terms of just it being much more likely than not that he goes elsewhere. But what's interesting about it is I recognize that all of us have a tough time digesting that likelihood, including the people closest to Tom. The people around Tom even wonder what happens when he ends up in that office with Bill Belichick. And Belichick, should Belichick decide to do whatever it takes to convince Tom to stay, what happens? What does Tom do and decide in that moment? But based on the conversations that I've had, Tom is the one that is looking at free agency and excited about it. So yeah, that's where we stand right now.
So that's okay. That's the reason why you're placing your, if you will, well-sourced postulation. Let's put it that way, or instead of saying bet. On Brady not being back, or have you heard essentially he's just done? He's just flat out done, as opposed to having potential wanderlust?
No, I mean, I think that I don't want to shut the door completely on it to say he's flat out done, because, like I said, I mean, everybody wonders what happens when he goes in there. But I know that he is very excited about entering free agency, that he is looking at this beyond just, I think one of the things that people assume is that this is strictly because he's just over Bill Belichick, when there's another side to it, another component, and that is that Tom Brady is looking toward free agency as another adventure, a way to reinvigorate himself, a way to sort of face another challenge. So it's not merely about running away from something as much as it is also about chasing after something new. And I think when you put those two things together, you've got a guy who is looking at opportunities that exist out there and saying, man, that's something that I'd like to be a part of.
Well, I'm sure you heard Charlie Weiss go on, I think it was our friend Golick and Wingo's program saying, Tom told me to tell the world he doesn't know, so nobody else knows. What'd you make of that one?
I do believe, another thing that I've said along the way is that, I believe that Tom does not know what he's doing next in terms of he's been throwing a very wide net. I mean, he's been not simply saying, it's either the Titans or the Patriots, or I go back to the Patriots. It's either the Chargers or I go back to the Patriots. He is considering a lot of different things. But to the point that nobody knows anything, I would probably disagree with that to a degree. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with the things that I've said so far.
Jeff Darlington from ESPN joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So then now handicap it for me then. Where do you think 8 days from now the chances of him going to a different team, and where?
So I think that there's a number of teams that are, first of all, as of last week, as of probably 4 or 5 days ago, I had spoken to executives with 8 different teams that were showing at least varying degrees of interest. Now, to go down each team and say what degree of interest, I don't know that that's the right thing to do at this point, but I would say that there's a number of teams that would sign him right now, pen to paper. And whether Tom then considers those teams to be the teams that he's willing to marry, that becomes what I think happens in the next week. To answer your question in terms of handicapping, I still think that I know that people are saying that the Titans feel like they're, not the spot for him, that they're not as interested in him. Look, until a team comes out and says, we're not signing Tom Brady, I'm keeping him in the race as a team of interest. The Titans, the Bucks are another team that I do not think that we should dismiss. And, of course, from the beginning, the Chargers and the Raiders are two teams that remain in the hunt as well. So those four teams, I think, are the most likely, but that doesn't mean that we should completely take the 49ers off the board. Again, look, silence is deafening. We're not hearing leaks or anybody saying that Tom Brady is not coming to the 49ers. And I'm not saying that that's the way we decide whether they're interested, but it certainly means that they haven't been clear that they're not. So I think that we should continue to keep them on our radar as well. There's five teams right there that certainly we should be still considering as potential landing spots for Tom Brady.
So let's just place the Niners aside because to me, that would be, in my mind, the spot where Brady would want to go the most if he does want to leave New England for various purposes. So let's just put the pin in that for a moment. Let's just say it is the Titans raising their hands and the Bucks and Bruce Arians and Gruden and the Raiders and the Chargers here in Los Angeles. And Brady looks and he goes, okay, I need to uproot my family, period. He's got to uproot his family to all these four places. Two of them are in Mahomes' division. Okay.
Right.
One of them may or may not have Derrick Henry. I'm assuming they will keep him if I sign some sort of friendly deal. And another one is in Tampa, state taxes. That'll be nice. That they don't have to have. I'm serious. But I mean, they were particularly far away. Like, that is not my shot. As much as I love the no risk it, no biscuit and how we could potentially put a team together. And man, do I love Evans and I see Godwin and I saw what they did last year with Jameis. I could definitely cut those interceptions by 90% and let's go. But they seem to be far away. Don't you think that those four, if those are the four that raise their hand, that would make New England more attractive in your mind, Jeff?
I don't think so. I think when we do look at, so first of all, you're right. The Titans are definitely more interesting. In fact, to a degree that is probably hard to get past with Derrick Henry than without him. But if they do have Derrick Henry, they're a team that got to the AFC Championship game despite a terrible start to the season. So hard to call them anything but a contender entering 2020, especially with Tom Brady. So the Bucks, I actually look at that team toward the end of the season and look at what their defense was able to do. I think that they definitely would need to make strides on the offensive line, especially if they sign Brady. They've got to change a little bit of the way they play if they bring in Brady, because Bruce Arians generally will get his quarterbacks killed. God bless the guy. I adore him. But, you've got to protect Brady better if he's going to go there. But otherwise, they do check off a lot of the boxes that I think Brady would be looking for. Even though I know people have a tough time thinking that Brady would look at a place like Tampa, not exactly a place just, rich in history in terms of the NFL, but I don't know that is as important as maybe we project it to be. So those two teams, I think, are probably more attractive than we realize. And then the Chargers certainly being in Los Angeles is something that the tough thing for me with the Chargers that I continue to not be able to get past is that they moved on from Phillip Rivers in part because Anthony Lynn wants a more mobile quarterback with better escapability and all those things that maybe someone like Tua brings to the table. I find myself not being able to get past that, despite the fact that I continue to hear that the Chargers are most certainly interested in signing Brady.
Well, the reason for that is, Jeff, for just interject, sitting out here in Los Angeles, Jeff Darlington of ESPN joining me here, and then we can continue on. That over the last 24, 48 hours, it is possible. Again, this is an opportunity where Brady may come here to Los Angeles and play football. That is very apparent to all the Los Angeles NFL fans here. The conversation is, and here in Los Angeles about the football scene is that leaked logo that the Rams might be putting on their caps and all of their uniforms, is that what we're seeing online? Really? The Los Angeles Rams new logo? Like, for real? That has been the conversation, not like, is Brady really coming here? That's why the Chargers need Tom Brady.
That's a great point.
In the worst way, Jeff. So Anthony Lynn may want more mobility, but at the end of the day, to use that phrase, do the Chargers need Tom Brady with that new stadium opening up this fall?
It's so true. And I guess you could make a little bit of that same argument for the Raiders, too. I mean, honestly, I don't know that John Gruden looks at Tom Brady while he might love him. Like, who's changing their terminology there? Because I don't see it being John Gruden. And when we talk about needing a coach who's collaborative, yes, Gruden will be that guy, fun Uncle Gruden for the first few weeks. But all of a sudden, when reality hits and Gruden starts saying, well, this is my offense, what happens then? But I could still see Mark Davis on the other side of that saying, we got a new stadium and a new market, and I'll be damned if we're not going to consider adding a guy who will inject a level of energy, to your point about the Chargers,
right?
In this organization, like we absolutely need.
So then let's get to the 49ers aspect of this, Jeff. And by the way, you make an interesting point in the fact that the rumor has been out there for at least a week plus, where Dion on NFL Network during our Sunday coverage of the Combine flat out just threw it out there that Brady to the 49ers and having like an NBA sign and trade with Garoppolo going to New England for a signed Tom Brady would be a win-win for everybody. Brady gets to wear the uniform that he's been always wanting to wear as a kid. His kids get to be near his parents in his final days as a quarterback in the NFL. He can jet down the coast to take care of 199 Productions that he just opened up a shingle out here in Los Angeles. I mean, and then this is a team that's got it all from Kittle, we know how he loves to throw to a tight end, to a running game, to a coach that he respects, and Lynch on the front office, all of it. I mean, so there's so much that makes sense. How does that happen, though? Walk me through how this happens.
It's simple. I mean, here's the problem. I think the 49ers really would like to get something for Jimmy Garoppolo if they were to trade him. And what they could get, I think, remains an enormous question lingering over this. But that being said, they could cut Jimmy Garoppolo, and it only cost them really $4 million. They're not tied to his contract in a way that makes this a situation that can't be accommodated. So really, it's simple. I mean, if you can't trade Jimmy and you want Tom, you cut Jimmy and you sign Tom. Now, obviously, that simplicity becomes a little more complex when you start to think about, okay, Jimmy is very well liked within the organization. The locker room loves him. Like, what happens, to the chemistry that exists within this organization if you do that?
Right.
I don't know that Kyle Shanahan looks at that and says we can't get past it. But that's where this all lies. Like, I don't think that this is about Jed York or John Lynch. I think this is ultimately about Kyle Shanahan. That's the guy who I believe will determine whether he wants Tom Brady or Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's what I guess we have to wait the next week to find out. But by all means, it's still on the table. We can't say it's not. I'm sorry. I mean, they've got a quarterback who just took them to the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying that they have to answer to every rumor that exists out there, but this is one where Jimmy Garoppolo behind the scenes has to be saying, hey, guys, I'm right over here.
Right. Yeah. Like, where's the full-throated denial? Where's that one? And
I hate using that because I recognize that's not like exactly a responsible way to go about reporting. Well, they haven't said no.
I know that. I know.
It feels like a pretty big one.
I know. I know.
It's an elephant in the room, and until we find out, and fortunately we only have about 7 to 10 days to, I think, discover some real important things.
So then,
until then, though.
So then, why doesn't the Dallas rumor go away? Where's that coming from? Because doesn't Dak have a $33 million a year deal on the table, and at some point he's going to have to get franchise tagged before Brady is allowed to even be legally contacted by Dallas? I mean, why are we hearing that rumor, Jeff? Is there anything to that?
I don't for a second think that Jerry Jones won't, if nothing more than use that as leverage to try to get a deal done. But I mean, he could certainly walk into that negotiation and say, look, I can sign Tom Brady for less money than I can sign you right now. Why shouldn't I? To which Dak will certainly say, good luck with that. We'll, in 2 years, have fun. But I think I would imagine at this point that's more of why should the Cowboys deny something that could help them potentially in leverage than it is a potential reality. But no doubt, again, I mean, we're still sitting here wondering what's going to happen, and we haven't heard a lot of doors slam shut at this point when it comes to Tom Brady.
Right. Not at all. Have you heard anything? A couple more minutes left with Jeff Darlington. Heard anything from the league about the owners' meeting coming up in Vegas? I know that the league came out and said that they're monitoring the situation, that everything's still going on as planned, that would have a large gathering, obviously in Vegas, and then later on this, that's down the road a little bit, but later on this month, an owners' meeting gathering. Any conversation about postponing it? You're hearing?
I was talking to a league source this morning who said that as of this morning, they have not decided to cancel it, but they are definitely having contingency discussions at this point about the owners' meetings. So where that heads, we'll have to wait and see. But, certainly assembling 32 billionaires, many of whom are in an older demographic, I can't imagine that they're ultimately thrilled about the idea of being thrust into a group of, what do you call us, reporters?
Yeah.
I don't know if our hygiene is our best strong suit. I mean, I'm certainly sure that this will be a conversation that, in all seriousness, that's a lighthearted joke, but in all seriousness, this is definitely going to be a conversation the league has. I know they're having it about the owners' meetings, and I can't imagine that they'll avoid it completely when it comes to the draft. But for now, based on my conversation this morning, no plans to cancel the owners' meetings, but discussions certainly about contingency plans.
Well, there could be some telecommuting that takes place. We could set all that stuff up if votes have to happen.
Sure.
I understand all the other fanfare that members of the NFL community always enjoy getting together. And certainly the media buzz that comes from that is significant. But that's something that, as you're saying, is under consideration right now. By the NFL.
When we see that locker rooms across the other sports leagues are being shut down to anybody other than essential players and personnel,
right?
I could certainly see something like this that is seemingly non-essential despite its obvious importance to league matters. I could see that, that being something that the NFL says, really, guys, we're not going to take a chance here. So we'll have to wait and see on that one for sure.
Okay, last one for you. Give me a wild card in the Brady race that we're not talking about. Give me somebody to keep an eye on. Drop one.
My gosh.
Drop me a Darlington bomb out the door is basically what I'm saying. What do you got?
What'd you say?
Drop me a Darlington bomb out the door.
I think this is where my connection starts to go bad, right?
That's it.
I'm not going to drop any kind of crazy bomb on you right now, but
yes,
I would say when it comes to the Bucks, don't dismiss them based on the helmet that they wear or the city that they play in. I don't think that will have as much to do with the ultimate decision that people maybe anticipated having.
Okay. You want to ask him a question going out the door right now?
Yeah, Darlington, this has been a hot topic on our show. What's your Uber rating?
Oh, my God.
I think last I checked, and I did check because I am incredibly vain, it was 4.83.
Pretty solid. That's solid.
Where does that fit into the expectation?
Oh, no, that's great. Rich is a 4.54. That's why we're asking.
Wow, Rich. And I don't see you as like an UberX guy.
I have no idea. All I know is that I'm not a fan of the math. Whatever the formula is, I don't know. I've never had an argument. I don't get into arguments. I'm always very.
Slam the door too hard.
People ask that question to me all the time. I'm not a door slammer. I don't leave wrappers behind.
Yeah.
I don't leave anything behind.
I do wonder, Rich, if you're the type when you ask to confirm settings, if you ask for no conversation.
I don't. No. I'm a no preference guy. I don't care.
No preference guy.
I'm a no preference guy. I'm a tipper. I'm a no preference guy. I don't make them wait. But I don't talk very often. I'm on the phone a lot.
No,
I am on the phone a lot.
You expected to talk. Well, any Uber that declines you because of a 4.5 rating is just missing out.
They're missing. They're missing out. Yes, they're missing out on my passenger experience. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. That's a man who's on top of it all. That's Jeff Darlington from ESPN.